This podcast will fail. That's probably okay. But then again, I could be wrong, so who really knows? Episode 71. This podcast will fail. I'm your host, and I'm just some guy. Who I am is irrelevant to the conversation that I come here to have with you and with myself. And hi, how are you? It's Wednesday, mid-December 2020. Listening to the world around me, trying to reclaim some vestige of sanity as we move past all the election nonsense, move into the hopeful world of vaccinations. And here I am spending my time lamenting the past. But I, still think that this is a worthwhile exercise. I've been, the month of December, focusing on the idea of coming to terms with the things we have to deal with in life, and the decisions that we make in life, and the experiences we have, good, bad, or otherwise. A lot of times, people don't want to come to terms with the reality of situations. So, my goal is to talk through some of the difficult situations that we all experience, and especially with interview guests that I've been able to get so far this month, talk them through and have them tell me their story of what types of situations in life they have had to come to terms with. And that's been interesting too, and I've really appreciated that. I have another one of those coming up for you on Friday, and that is my colleague Matt, who is my podcast guy as well. So we'll have an interesting conversation there. I have some more to tell. It was interesting. I was, listening to the monologue that I recorded yesterday, and opening the window into my childhood experiences as a burgeoning alcoholic. That's just so absurd. And what I found interesting was that I don't think I sounded like myself. And I was thinking on it as I was listening and just, tightening things up and make sure that the editing was good, that I just don't think I realized what kind of headspace I put myself in walking back through those memories. It was definitely an odd experience. And my wife typically is somewhere nearby as I'm editing. And I used a term that is not really acceptable socially used term nowadays for one individual, a childhood friend of mine, a little person, and I referred to him yesterday as a dwarf. And my wife says, that's really not acceptable. You're not supposed to. That's not the word to the proper. I stopped myself. I said, Jesus, you're right. And I had to think for a moment, why did I say that? Because I don't think that's part of my vocabulary now. Oh, because it was in the 90s. And I guess that's just indicative of the era, because I guess I must have, as I got into the space of thinking about what it was like when I was a teenager, it's almost like I was back there again. And so, unfortunately, the word that fell out of my mouth was the word we would have said all those years ago, and it's certainly not how little people today would want to be referred to. So, apologies on that one. But it was interesting to light that fuse and start down the path of understanding how I got introduced to drinking, and I touched on two different experiences, one kind of silly, ridiculous, and one completely out of hand, poor decision making. And it's odd because teenagers do stupid things, right? I'm fond of saying in this podcast, I'm not special for these reasons, right? People do dumb shit all the time. Young people do stupid things. Young people drink. I know this. It's not like I'm the only teenager to ever consume alcohol on a regular basis. I know I'm not. But I guess it still stands out to me because so much of the perception I have of the world comes from the position of having recovered from that world and how it followed me and haunted me. And I guess it'll probably be next week on Monday, I will begin to close out this conversation and talk about a very specific milestone in my life. And we'll get there. We'll get there as we get there. Today I've got a couple of just kind of reflections back on where I was and what I experienced. And I have spent so many years certain that prior to meeting my wife, I was not a good person, which is kind of counterintuitive because my wife is and always has been a good person, and she has known me since we were teenagers. We met in high school. If I wasn't a good person, why would she have associated with me in the first place? Because, it doesn't make sense that she would deal with an asshole and she would put up with me the way she did for as long as she did. So I guess there must have been some kind of grain of acceptable personality within me. I guess she chose me. I'm the Pikachu. But I look back on those years and recognize that it was so critical to me to be able to get drunk as often as possible so that I didn't have to deal with the real world in any great degree, right? School sucked, and I sucked at school. I was not academic. I was not good at learning, and so that was just a frustrating and stupid experience, and took every opportunity I could to figure out how to be drunk at school. It wasn't as often. It was tougher, right? It wasn't easy to get my hands on booze during the week. It was on the weekends, and as I told in the story yesterday, that I had a certain neighborhood and a certain group of friends that I could go to, and I could count on them to, somebody's going to be able to get us a hookup. And once in a while, I'd find ways at school to somehow sneak some vodka into some grape Kool-Aid or something. But it wasn't like a daily maintenance drinker, right? I didn't need to stay blitzed out on a constant basis. It was that, man, come the weekend, after I have dealt with all this crap and after we're ready to, come on, go. Start your engines, gentlemen. The weekend is the time to volume drink as much as possible and see what happens. Let's just see what happens. And, oh, gosh. There's some low points. I talked yesterday about the one time I really didn't want to put up with the guys breaking out the joints and smoking weed, so I grabbed the rest of the 12-pack of beer and went outside and went across the street to the playground and just drank myself into oblivion alone in a park and woke up outside the next morning. Similarly, because this playground it's over there, connected to like a little strip mall, and at one time that strip mall contained a police department substation, right? So that certainly made our lives difficult, because there were plenty enough times that, young, rambunctious, stupid kids doing stupid things had to get away from the cops, right? And again, I'm not special in any way in that regard. Well, there was one time that I did actually kind of black out. It was very rare. I didn't black out, generally speaking. As much as I struggle with remembering dates and years and ages, there are precious few times that I can't remember what happened. Very, very few. This is one of them. This is what I do know. Obviously, it was a weekend. Obviously, there had been copious amounts of drinks consumed. And I thought about this at the end of my story yesterday, thinking about waking up in that playground. I woke up nearby. So I know I was cold when I woke up. I thought, wow, I'm freaking freezing. I'm really cold. And I'm uncomfortable, right? And I realized slowly I'm outside. I know I'm outside. Okay, so where the hell did I fall asleep? And it was like a funny thing, right? It was oh, where am I now? Where's dumbass? Like, where's Waldo? But it's that drunk dumbass. Where is he? Well, it's outside, and I can't quite figure out, as I'm remembering, and I'm looking kind of through my eyelids and thinking, okay, it's not dark, but it's not light. So what is this? This is like dawn, right? Is it like 6 a.m? What's going on here? 5 a.m? So finally, I realized, okay, I'm on the ground, clearly, and I'm pretty sure I'm on concrete or pavement right now, because it's not soft grass. And I open my eyes, and I see metal. I see dark, rusty metal inches from my face, and I think, what in the world? Where am I? What is going on? And as I'm laying and I'm looking at this big tube-shaped piece of metal in front of me, and I can't put it together, and my eyes follow to the bottom of this big, thing, this big hunk of metal in front of me, and then there's a smaller circular tube that comes off the end of the thing and snakes away. And I thought, okay, I follow my eyes over there and realize that there's daylight at the end of that pipe. Well, there's daylight over there. I'm on the edge of something, and then of course there was like a weird moment of vertigo of like, whoa, I'm on the edge of something. What am I going to fall? And so then I turn my head the other way, and I see the tread on the tires of the vehicle that I was laying under. I was under the back end of a car, and I was looking at a muffler. And that was a pretty low point. I don't know how I got here. The guys, I remember, said, you just wandered off like you usually do. You just wandered off like you usually do. And anyway, so, hey, stupid, you're under a car, you passed out, and did you get, did you get run over? I don't know. I think I'm okay. My head hurts a little. So I begin to shimmy and crawl out from underneath this vehicle, and as I turn and sit up, I find out that it's actually a police cruiser that I'm laying underneath right now. Oh, God. And it was like a bolt of lightning. Oh, shit, go. Go. And then I was gone. And on my feet and running like hell. And yeah, so that was a good one. That was a low moment. That one sticks out. One particular time of year held special significance, and that was New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, most years, was spent in Grandma's basement near that liquor cabinet that I mentioned yesterday, the unlocked, untended liquor cabinet, which by this time, by the way, we had taken advantage of most of the liquor that was in that cupboard. We were smart though. We replaced it, right? So any bottle that had previously held some type of clear liquid like vodka was filled with water. Anything that held something like whiskey was filled with either iced tea or in some cases apple juice to mimic those amber tones. There was one in particular. We figured out later it was a bottle of Old Granddad, and it took a long time to figure that out because there was no internet back then, and there was no label on the bottle. So we didn't actually know what the hell we were drinking. Might as well be paint thinner. Who knows? Go. And anyway, so New Year's Eve was most typically spent in Grandma's basement, celebrating. Have a little stupid little tube TV set up so we could watch the ball drop and just get drunk, just get silly, just get stupid, play guitar, screw around, have fun, make jokes, do stupid things, wrestle, whatever. But there was one New Year's Eve in particular. And here again, I don't remember. I don't know what year. I have no idea. I might have been... That was probably 15. Maybe the New Year's Eve after I turned 15, possibly. Okay. I went... You'll never guess where I went. To my brother's apartment. Go figure! So this other place on the other side of town that my brother lived. Oh, I must have been 16 then because we had a car. That's right, we had a car. We had an 81 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Yeah. So we got some boys and me and Jason and like two other people, and I don't remember who the other two people were. And I don't know how we got our hands on a gallon jug, and I'm not kidding when I say jug, of wine, red wine. I don't know who got the red wine or how they got it, but the four of us took it upon ourselves to drink the entire damn thing of red wine between four guys, teenagers, before the party. So this was pulling up to the house, parking on the street, and setting about taking care of this wine because we got to get it gone before we go in. Okay. And then we go in, and it's a party, and there's, I don't know, 30 plus people in this apartment. And there's a couple kegs. Here we go. There's a beer ball. A beer ball? How cool! Give me that hose. I don't think that I got my, the whole handstand thing, right? Keg stand. I don't think I did that, but I was on that beer ball quite a bit because just the novelty of it was so interesting to me, and it held a copious amount of liquid, which I wanted to put in my belly. Low point number 2 in this story today is mid-party. My mother showed up. Now, to this point, all these years, right? Age 12, 13, 14, 15, all those years, she, to my knowledge, never knew. I told you a couple times that she was quite distant because she was either constantly working or constantly sleeping. And she didn't keep tabs. I had no curfew. I had no bedtime. I had no, you better be home. Like, she was so grateful if I ever did actually call from Jason's house to say, hey, I'm going to stay over here tonight. There was no requirement for me to ever check in, anything like that. So, completely unsupervised, under my own power, the power of 80 proof. And she came to this party, lit into my brother first and foremost, because he's the older one. Totally lit into him. And then apparently saw me, found me, came and started berating me. Decision-making skills in the moment are obviously impacted by the level of inebriation. And I just remember, this is what I remember. I remember her yelling at me. I remember yelling back and kind of, just back and forth, like this arguing about the fact that I was even at this party, the fact that I was drinking. I called my mother a bitch at some point in that conversation. I don't know why. I was angry, obviously. She was freaking out. And I dropped that B word. And she proceeded to drop a flat hand across the side of my face and knock me on the ground. So here's me as a, 5'9", 200-pound, 15, 16-year-old, whatever I was. And this little 5'4", fiery-ass redhead, queen redneck bitch of the universe herself. I told you she had that sign over her bed and she made it herself. Knocking my ass on the ground for speaking ill towards the woman who brought him into this world. And it's a regret that was never answered. That was never resolved. That was never brought to account for my actions that night and for whatever kind of impact it had on her to not just find her sons in this situation, to find her quote-unquote baby boy in this situation, but then to have me speak so disrespectfully and just so much malice and anger and indignation. And see, there's more context missing. I was never spanked, right? My mother wasn't a corporal punishment or type of person. So she never laid a hand on me in life up until that point, which is why, to me, it stands out, because it's certainly common enough in American life to hear that, mama gave you a whooping, right? Daddy got the switch. Okay. The belt. No. None of that ever happened to me. Until that hand connected with the side of my face and dropped me to the ground. That's a bit of a low point for me. So, looking back, it's still kind of weird to remember these things and feel these like alternating waves of revulsion and shame, I think, guilt for some of it, remorse, obviously. But then to hear myself giggle like a Looney Tune, because how absurd some of it is, and in any other context, it's not funny, right? But it's like the war stories, they're not supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be funny that one time we're so completely drunk we were on some kind of treasure hunt in the neighborhood. We were going around and hopping fences into backyards, and I don't even know what we were doing. We were just there, just doing it. And trying to go over a fence, my like the pocket of my pants or something, or because I must have been wearing, I don't know, sweatpants or something, caught, and I fell over the top, and the fence caught the edge of my pants and pulled my pants down. So I'm see, it's funny, but it's not. I'm lying on the ground and I'm stuck and I'm too drunk to get myself out of this situation. I can't turn over. I don't want my pants to rip. I'm on my underwear on the ground, and the boys turn around and they're laughing. I'm laughing. It's hysterical at the time. And one person, and I don't know who it was. One person made as if he was going to urinate on me. And it was the funniest thing to him and everybody. He took the stance, legs spread out, standing right in front of me, starts pawing at his zipper. And it was like this moment of hysterical, laughing terror. Like, this guy is about to take a leak on me. And that shouldn't be funny, right? I shouldn't find it as humorous in the greater context of things. I'm a child in this story. I'm a young teenager. Well, these were the absurd situations. Crawling around in sewer drains, that happened, right? That was fun. Why not? There's just all of these little experiences and moments of doing the wrong thing, right? Crawling around on a construction site for a for a shopping mall and getting busted by the police. And I don't know why they let us go, because they should have been able to smell the fact that we were drunk as skunks. But they let us go. And I was the only dumbass who gave my real name and address to the cops, because they obviously separated us and they're all being questioned and everybody's writing down names. And I'm the only idiot that gave a real name and a real address. So my mother got a letter in the mail about a week later. And I got punished. But I never got caught for being drunk in that situation. Go figure. Territory, gang fights, right? A Puerto Rican gang tried to move in. It was like a stupid fist war that happened. I took a metal baseball bat to the back of my head one time and it didn't even feel it. I was so blitzed out that it rung like a hollow gong, but it didn't hurt. And I proceeded to chase this guy down and fight. But then the cops came, because they were right around the corner. And I remember I ducked under a bunch of bushes next to a church. And I'm on the ground, in the dirt, on my stomach, hiding, trying not to move, trying not to breathe, as the cops are chasing my friends around and people are being questioned. And somehow I got away with that one. But it was like this never-ending chain of weekend after weekend after weekend of just how drunk can I get and what stupid situation can I find myself in now. And it's like I didn't have a death wish or anything. It wasn't like self-loathing or anything. It was just, this is how I have fun. This is what I do, and this is what I want to do. So I did. There are just a couple of more specific situations and points that I need to touch on. Today didn't hurt as much. I was ready for it. Today wasn't as difficult as yesterday. There's a particular bottom that I will talk about tomorrow. There's one or two more things that I need to remember out loud and say out loud to help me get to the end of this journey. So that will be tomorrow. So I think that will be sufficient for today. Hey, let's do the usual. Thank you. If you took any time to listen to this with me today, I appreciate it. Thanks, of course, for listening. So wherever you are, I hope that you and yours are safe and healthy. And I will come back tomorrow and finish this part of the story then. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thanks so much for listening. And, of course, have a good one.